Did you know how important it could be in your success to travel? So, travel, we just came back from Jamaica about a month ago, and I'm about to head out to Puerto Rico and then New York. And I love to travel. However, uh, uh, like I for me, traveling is like the worst part for me about traveling is preparing to go. Like it's sometimes like the thought of travel, like right now, as we're talking about going, we haven't even planned the trip. Like I'm just talking about because a lot of times what I'll do is I'll wait to the last minute. Why? Because the worst part for me about travel is actually preparing to do it, right? so so I'm always like when I'm thinking about traveling, I'm like, oh, like I got all this stuff going on, and then when it's time to like and I'll leave stuff up to like the last minute where my wife, she's planning it all out. My daughter's planning it all out. So my daughter, she called me yesterday. She's like, Dad, so would you like me to just get the whole itinerary and just get it for you, book everything? I'm like, yeah, could you do that? Because but I know the benefits of travel. So, and from a business perspective, travel is very important. From a personal perspective, travel is very important. But I'm also going to talk about how if you're looking to succeed, if you're looking to have success, I'm going to talk to you about the key things, the key benefits of travel, but also I'm going to talk to you about the key benefits to this other thing, which is called strategic collaborations, and how you could combine travel with strategic collaborations and really just blow up your business, whether you are someone who is just loves to travel, how you could blow up your business if you have a great strategic collaboration. And if you're someone who loves to travel and let me just show you. So give me a minute, I'll tell you because I'm gonna. All right, so benefits. So let's talk about the benefits to travel. So I'm just gonna just give you a couple key things. So travel, the reason why it is so beneficial to travel, like some of the reasons, I'll just give you some of them. One is it enhances creativity and innovation. So think about it. Have you ever been on a trip? It says, have you ever been on a trip where, like when we were out in Jamaica, I couldn't wait. You know what I was looking forward to, other than the food. Like I was really looking forward to the food. I was looking forward to hanging out with my mastermind inner circle members, my Airbnb mastery members. It was so cool to hang out. It's so cool to hang out with a bunch of cool people who also are very smart and driven and have vision and have creativity and love the Lord. So that part was cool. So I was looking forward to that. But the other thing I was looking forward to was waking up early in the morning and going to the beach. Like, have you ever been to the beach early in the morning? That's typically when I go. Like I love going to the beach early in the morning before, like as the sun is rising, right? And 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 sometimes what I'll do on the beach when the sun is rising, I'll just go for a long run. Just go for a long run. Like when I go running, like especially on the beach, I'm in like a meditative state. So people wonder, well, how do you run 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 miles on the sand? Because I'm just in a whole nother place, and it seems like I get to enjoy it, I get to hear the waves. But what happens though, and this is the part about travel, it enhances creativity and innovation. And so when you it allows you to gain new perspectives because you're out of your element, and if you could do it in a way where you're actually at least relaxed. So I might be all a little bit uptight between the time I start planning to travel to the time. But once I get on the plane, like it's all done. Like I just everything is gone. Like I let everything go. And then I'm just all into it. Right. But before I get there, my mind is like, I think about it for a minute. I have an idea what I'm gonna do. Boom. Like I ain't even really think about it. I let it go. And then I'm just planning everything to make sure everything is in place, trying to get as much done before I leave as I can and make sure everything's in place. Why? Because when I get there, like I don't want to have to be thinking about stuff that's kind of left behind, right? And so with my teams and things like that, but it enhances. So when you get there and you have that level of just peace, then what starts to happen is you start to get different perspectives. You start to, as you're able to, like, depending on where you're going, like when we were in Jamaica, we were exposed to different cultures, right? We were exposed to different foods, we were exposed to different just ways of thinking and doing things. And the things that I was seeing was just, it was some of it was just mind-blowing. It was beautiful. And like the light bulbs were going on, just going on in my head. Right, when I went running on the beach and I'm just watching how the sun and the colors and the water, like, and I'm it's just different. It's a different perspective. And I got some of the most beautiful beaches here in Florida, but there's some beautiful beaches and the water is just different out there in Jamaica. Like when the sun hits that water, it's like a jade green sometimes. Like it's like colors that only God could create. Right? It's just beautiful. And so and then things just start going on in your head. So it gives you inspiration, right? It gives you, like, again, many great ideas and innovation. Like I knew I had to have a house on the water, right? Like me personally, like my wife at one point, she got on my case. She was like, "What is this new thing you have about water? You don't even like to get in the beach. I could never get you to the beach. Now all of a sudden you love to be by the beach. What's going on?" Like she said that to me. And this was probably about four years ago or so. But what happened was my daughter, who was in college, my youngest daughter, we used to go visit her, and she went to school at Monmouth University on the Jersey Shore, and and in that community on at where Monmouth was, which was West Long Branch. If y'all don't know where it is, look it up. It's beautiful, and it's also probably one of the wealthiest communities per capita in that area that if you that you'll find in the country, right? But the beaches are beautiful. The beaches are beautiful. And what I did was, when I used to go visit, I used to wake up early in the morning, and whether we were staying at an Airbnb or staying at the hotel, we'd wake up early in the morning and I would go and just go for a walk or run on the beach. But I would sit first before that. And I would sit and I'd read my Bible and I'd pray before the sun came up. And I'd be sitting by these big old mansions, like 10,000 square feet mansions. These places are huge, 8,000 square feet mansions right on the water. And I'd just be sitting reading and then praying. And then I'd go for a run on the beach. And I'm going to tell you that some of the greatest ideas that I came up with over the last 10 years have been due to the time that I spent that close to the water and then in that area. And so I was like, well, and then I would go home and implement, and it just transformed my business. It transformed, and I'm like, well, if that's what happens when I'm spending just a few days out of the month, what would happen if I'm near the water all the time? So that, like, and so I just knew I had to have a place on the water. right? I just knew because it's about inspiration. Business is about creativity. It's about innovation. And when you're in that fate, when you find that place that that like some of you like to call that happy place, when you find that happy place, that creative space where you know things just be firing, don't lose that place. Like do whatever you can to 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 to, to grab hold to it so that like you like it now just becomes second nature for you. And so I had to have a place on the water, have a beautiful place here in Florida on the water now because of that reason, right? And so new perspectives, inspiration, and what it so I'm gonna pause there. Those are just a couple key things about travel, right? When you're in different areas, different places, you get new perspectives and it opens up your creativity, right? Based on things that you're already familiar with. Like I was just thinking about, like I was just talking to someone today about how you may feel like you're so focused on this thing that you think is the solution. And the problem is if you like what you have to do is you have to realize that that although that's the problem, the thing that it is that's stopping you is the problem, it doesn't mean you have to like plow through that problem. It doesn't mean you have to like find a way to get through that problem. Sometimes that problem is there to not get through. Sometimes you just have to go around it. Like just forget about the problem because you already know what the solution is inside. And the analogy I gave was we got a whole bunch of people inside this house and you can't get through the door. The front door, you're banging on the door, you're ringing the bell, you can't get through. And a whole bunch of people that are in the house want that it's been proven that those people want what you have, but you just can't get inside the house. Well, the door, you're trying to find a way to break down the door, you're trying to find a way to pick the lock or the combination, but maybe you're not supposed to go through the door. Maybe you need to go around to the back of the house and maybe there's a sliding glass door wide open for you. But if you're focused so much on that door, you ain't going to look at the other solutions, right? You ain't going to think about the other ways of seeing things. Well, sometimes getting out of your environment and seeing the way people do things in other environments, or just seeing or just being able to let go, period, getting in that happy place where you're not even thinking, then sometimes those ideas come up because you're not in that place where you're focused. You're so you heard the saying, right? You can't see the forest before the trees, right? Because you're so deep. You got all these trees in front of you. You can't even see what's going on in there because you're so focused on this. So now the other thing I want to mention, I want to talk about the strategic collaborations. So you've heard me say the power about you've heard me talk about the power of strategic collaborations. For me, my business, the greatest success that I've ever had when it comes to business was because of strategic collaborations. What is a strategic collaboration? Well, Napoleon Hill talks about strategic collaborations. Andrew Carnegie talks about strategic collaborations. Those guys, if you don't know who they are, like Andrew Carnegie was the billionaire steel magnet. He was the one who reshaped the whole steel business. And Andrew Carnegie actually had a strategic collaboration with Napoleon Hill. Napoleon Hill was the author of Think and Grow Rich, but Napoleon Hill was just a reporter when he met Andrew Carnegie. He never made any money, really. Like he wasn't a businessman. And Andrew Carnegie actually commissioned him to write this book. There was no name. He just commissioned him because he wanted to leave something behind when he leaves, he wanted to leave something of himself behind that would have a lasting effect on the world well beyond his life. And what that was the mindset. He wanted people to understand how to be successful, right? And so what he told Napoleon Hill that he was going to do is he was going to connect him with some of the most successful people in the world, because that was his circles. He was in those circles. He had, and what they called it was masterminds, right? They had masterminds where Andrew Carnegie would communicate with Henry Ford, and like there were a number of others who he worked with, Henry Ford and J.P. Morgan, J.P. Morgan, right? He like these collaborations, these guys came together and they created like some of the biggest businesses, as you know, in the world, right? In history. And they've made like Andrew Carnegie today would be probably the richest man in the world. He ended up selling his business to JP Morgan, his steel business, and they created US Steel, which like the amount that they paid for that business, it was like today it would have been worth uh it was like $100 billion or something like that. So that's but that all happened because of strategic collaborations. And and then what JP Morgan did was he created more strategic collaborations around that business and other businesses that came because of it. And so strategic collaborations are key. Why are they so important? Because and how and well, one, it gives you access to new markets and customers. So it expands your reach. So for instance, if I do a strategic collaboration, say I'm in the Airbnb business, right? I'm in the coaching business as well. I'm in the real estate business, right? And my desire might be like I help a lot of people either when they're traveling, get bookings. I mean, when they're traveling, have places to stay. I help a lot of people who desire to do the same thing, to have the ability to have places to allow people to stay when they're traveling, right? And pay you to stay in your places when you're traveling. But I do it in a way where like we don't have to own properties. If you own properties, great. We show you how to do that. If you don't own properties, that's fine too, because that's the majority of what we do, right? And so, but when someone who's never done it before, they come to me, then what happens? It's a strategic collaboration. Although they may pay me really well, it's still a strategic collaboration. Why? Because strategically, what's going to happen with them is they're going to borrow my information, right? They're going to borrow my experience that allows them to no longer have to wait a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years to figure out. It's going to accelerate their success because they're going to avoid all the errors, most of the errors and the pitfalls that normally would happen if you were doing it on your own. So that's a strategic collaboration. And then what I get the opportunity to do on the other side is what? Well, I mean, I get paid. It doesn't, that part doesn't like my effect on that person I have a greater effect on that person than they have on me. But a great strategic collaboration is where there's the benefit is mutual, right? This person may have 10x growth and this person may have 10x growth, or this person may have 20x growth and this person may have 10x growth. Like it's still significant growth, but it it wouldn't happen if the two didn't come together. Like if one was doing it, one person might have 2x growth, the other person may have 3x growth. But coming together, because they come together, one person may have 10x growth, the other person may have 20x growth or 15x growth or 10. So the strategic collaboration happens because you're able to bring your resources, your ideas, your circles, your money, your creativity all those things together, some of those things together, and then boom, when they come together, it just creates a firestorm, right? So it gives you access to new markets, new customers, it expands your reach. In some cases, it gives global expansion, right? You get to share your resources and expertise. It creates cost efficiencies. Like when I was in the bank, when I worked for the bank, I was a bank vice president. When I worked for the bank, well, at that time, I wasn't a bank vice president. I was helping with mergers and acquisitions. And there was a huge merger where the two banks were coming together. It was Key Bank and Society Bank at the time. And they were coming together where Society was taking over, no, Key was taking over Society, and Society was keeping its name, right? And that was a huge acquisition, a merger, right, of the two. And I was very involved in that process. And there were a lot of jobs that we had to eliminate. There were a lot of uh, because of the efficiencies, it was duplicate, right? There was a lot of duplicate. So it caused inefficiencies. But when you brought them together, they were able to make even more money with less resources, right? With less people, right? So, and what they call that is synergy, right? There's synergies where you bring things together and they work better together than they do apart, right? So there were synergies, and there's risk mitigation, right? Because you have all these additional resources, knowledge, experience, it mitigates the risk of of failure in many instances, right? And and it causes increased stability. And then one of the last things is it gives you a competitive advantage, right? Because what? It strengthens your position. When you collaborate with other businesses, it can enhance your competitive position by co- combining strengths and mitigating weaknesses, right? By with market leadership. So if you have two people or two businesses that are strong in their aspect and they come together, it makes them stronger. So way back when, around that same time with Andrew Carnegie and the boys, they had monopolies. They were coming together creating these organizations with their masterminds. They had monopolies. And it was Franklin Delano Roosevelt who actually came in and started breaking up these monopolies. He was breaking up the biggest and the greatest monopolies that ever existed. And which is how Henry Ford actually got his start. Because you may or may not know it, but there was also a monopoly when it came to the automobile business, where you actually had to pay the person who had the idea. I can't remember the name of the guys who came up with they had a patent on uh, producing the automobile. So anyone that wanted to produce an automobile had to go to them and they would approve it or disapprove it and say, yes, we'll allow you to create automobiles, or no, we won't. Well, they had a monopoly. And if they did, they also got a piece of the action. So they were making a whole bunch of money with people creating all these cars, and they had to pay them to create these cars. Well, when Henry Ford came along, Henry Ford went and he submitted his application to do the same thing, and they were like, nah. And the reason why they said no was because he was doing it different. Like he was creating cars that like the common man could afford, and that's not what was being created before. And so he got denied because they wanted to keep it tight. So Henry Ford took it to court because at this time, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, he Teddy, he 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 was dead set on breaking up these monopolies. And Henry Ford won. He won the case. And after he won, no one ever had to go and apply for the ability to through this group to manufacture cars anymore. So it's a great story. If you've never known that, it most people don't, but that's how it used to be. Well, strategic collaborations created the the biggest businesses in the world. And when it comes to travel, if you are someone who loves to travel and you love to create content about your travel. In fact, I met a woman the other day. She traveled all over the globe. She's been traveling for 11 years and she's got some beautiful content. She traveled to Africa. She I, uh, she calls herself a digital nomad, and she loves to put it out on social media. And people love to watch her stuff. And I'm like, you know what? I like your videos because I think your videos add, like, they're really, really good. And the people who love to travel and stay in my places would love your videos. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to pay you for your videos. I'm going to pay you for your videos. Every time you make a video, I'm going to pay you for your videos. And she's like, really? I said, yeah. And it created this great strategic collaboration. Why? Because she wasn't getting paid on her videos. She just loved making videos. And guess what, though? She has an audience who also loves to travel. And so I don't travel the way she travels, but I also appreciate the people who are traveling, and those are the people who are in my circles as well. So I pay her for her videos. She gets to keep creating great content, and I get to hang out more with a lot more cool people and provide them with opportunities to stay in places when they are traveling, right? And I get to hang out with them as well. So if you are someone who loves to travel and you have and you like to turn on your camera and talk about it, guess what? Reach out to me because I'll pay you for your videos too. I'm creating a whole bunch of strategic collaborations, and because I understand the importance of that, right? I like mark my words. Just reach out to me. If you want to get paid for your travel, just reach out to me, right? We'll have some conversation. However, if you love to travel and you didn't realize and understand the importance, like, you may have known, you may have gotten all the creativity, but do you really, like, were you conscious of like how really that creativity and innovation is a part of it, happens just because you're traveling. So if you're someone who doesn't travel much and you would like to, I encourage you, travel. If you're not traveling much and you don't, because, well, I don't have the money or I don't have the time, force yourself to travel, because guess what? If you start traveling, it's going to allow you to, because of your creativity, it will allow you to have the money and create the time. It'll allow you to create the money and create the time so that you can travel anytime you want. I love that. Right. And my wife does too, by the way. So travel, if you're if you desire to travel and you can't, travel. If you desire to travel and you do, then continue, but then create good strategic collaborations, because if you do that, then you'll be able to turn your travel into something that will affect your life in a whole different way that you didn't even know. Right. So with that said, I just wanted to just talk for a few minutes about the power of travel, the benefits of travel, and how travel transforms your business and your mindset, and the power of strategic collaborations, and how like the it unlocks growth in your business, in your personal life, in your family, in your spiritual life, in your finances, and in your future. So travel and create your strategic collaborations. You'll thank me for it, and you and your future self will thank your past self for it as well. All right. So God bless you. Hopefully this was helpful. If it was, subscribe to the channel, share it, and comment and let me know that you want to create that strategic collaboration, that you want to get paid for your content, for your travel content. And guess what? I'll be reaching out to you personally so that we can do that, because that initiative is something that I am dead set on doing, and I would love to do it with you. So God bless you, and I'll talk to you in the next video.